Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles podcast. I am your host, Mike Elder. Thank you, really, for listening. It means the world to me. We got to do some housekeeping really quick. Shout out to Patreon member Andrew Kirby. Appreciate the support. If you want to get a shout out, go to my Patreon, patreon.com/BoxAngeles. Plus all the 300 audio episodes prior to episode 300, if I said that right, are up there. But if you just generally want to support me, that's cool as well. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm on a quest for 100,000 subscribers. That'd be super cool if I could get there. All righty, we've got a different episode. Usually I talk to entertainment professionals, right? Well, this week we're talking to one of my favorite yoga teachers, Stephanie Kato. I go to Stephanie's class easily 3 times a week, and I just find it so perfect and so good for my mental health. And it's just the complete opposite of acting. When I go to a yoga class, I have to be focused, locked in, mindful. Whereas acting, I'm sitting waiting for the phone. I'm twiddling my fingers. I'm editing some social media clips maybe. But do you get what I'm saying? Like, I like doing something that I can control, that I'm in the driver's seat, and yoga does that for me. Also, it's a perfect break from my workday into my personal life. So I just find it really helpful for my mental health and all that good stuff, and sweating. But anyways, I wanted to talk to Stephanie about that, and that was prior to realizing she used to be a child actor. So we also discussed her time as an actor and her stepping away from acting, which I appreciated her being candid about. And it's a really beautiful thought and perspective she has towards that, which we don't talk about a lot. We don't talk about the people that stepped away from the business. So this was really cool to see. Also, sidebar, we did find her IMDb. She does have credits. It was her maiden name, so it's linked in the show notes. But what a fun conversation. I adore Stephanie. This was really, really fun for me and a treat for me. This was her first podcast. So get to enjoy that. Isn't that cool? All right. Without further ado, I give you...
Oh, I'm Stephanie Kato.
Oh, it's pronounced Kato?
Did you think it was Kato?
I've always thought it was Kato.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's Kato.
Oh my God. You just blew my mind in the first thing.
It's Kato.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Mike.
I'm very excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to be here.
You were excited and nervous, I think, for a second.
Yeah.
But now I've won you over and you're very excited. Is that correct?
For sure.
Why are you nervous?
Because I've never done this before. I've never done a podcast.
That's crazy to me.
I just don't think I have anything too interesting to say.
That's going to be proven patently false by this interview. For those that don't know Steph, she's a yoga teacher and apparently a former actor, which I'm excited to talk about. But yeah. I wanted to bring you here because, and I told you this, it's like I have this thing where, and a lot of people that listen to my podcast do, they're creatives, they're actors or whatever, writers, and a lot of stuff is out of their control. Like I'm just sitting there waiting for the phone to ring to get an audition, get an opportunity. And I find I gravitate towards hobbies such as yoga, such as golf, where everything's in my control and I have nobody to blame but me. And so I found yoga, I've done it, I don't know, the last 9 months, a lot with you. And I've just found it so good for grounding me and getting me opposite of acting where it's so stressful and nothing's in control to something I can control and be in charge of. And so I thought that would be a nice change of pace for the listener.
Yeah.
Do you find you do yoga with a lot of actors or is it just me?
Well, I think it's just because we're in LA. That tends to happen. And especially, I teach like a 10 a.m. class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So there's lots of actors, right? Yeah. There's people going to that class that don't have a 9 to 5. So yeah, I tend to see a lot of actors. But I do think that it is common for actors to fall into a yoga practice, as I don't think it's uncommon for a former actor to become a yoga teacher.
That's really funny.
That's not novel at all.
Yeah, like honestly, I was in your class on Monday and I found myself distracted thinking of questions to ask you for this. And then I got out of the flow and I was like, oh shit, I got to focus. Yeah. I got to table this for later. But it's literally that thing. It's like in golf, if you mess up one shot, you're like, okay, relax. Now you have this shot, let's do this. And I just find it so therapeutic compared to, self-tape maybe or maybe not or whatever.
Yeah, there's no room for you to really think about anything else.
Yes.
And I want that to be true in my class, especially because I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. I don't want you to be able to check out too much. And we should be able to listen and focus and be present and be on our breath and be in touch with our body. That's the hope that I You know.
You do a great job of it.
Okay, cool.
I wanted to compliment you up top. Do you know what my favorite thing about you is?
What?
Is I think you give the best, cleanest, clearest direction. Like you're very repetitive in a good way. Like you're always repeating what you want us to do, which is perfect because we're in our heads and stuff. And you're always so clear. You have a great, this is why you should do more podcasts. You have a great voice for that.
Thanks.
Like it's just very calming and redundant and repetitive and clear, which if I go to a yoga class and the instructor's not clear and we're all kind of doing our own thing, I hate that.
Yeah.
But you just command an audience like that because you're so clear and concise.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I thank you.
Don't thank me.
I think that comes from also that I don't want you to feel like you ever have to look at me.
Yeah.
Because when we're mimicking, that's not the practice. When we're just trying to look and see what our neighbor's doing or what the teacher's doing and move our bodies, you know, to look exactly how they are, that's not going to benefit you in any way. So I want to give clear instructions so that you can just be in your practice and you can just flow and you don't have to worry about like, oh, what is it supposed to look like? What is she doing? What did she mean? You can just be in your practice.
Yeah, that's so smart. I love that. And now that you mention that, I'm like, she does hang out in the back of class. You see her a lot in Downward Dog in the back of the room.
Yeah.
For that reason now. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And it honestly kind of applies to acting in a weird way. I'm not going to make everything come back to acting, but
no,
like,
you should. Because no.
In acting class, they don't want you to, you know, they want you to be, they don't want you to just sort of read the lines how you practice them. They want you to react to who you're seeing, not, and you're saying, don't mimic me, do it how you would do it.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. I think that so much of a yoga practice or any, we're talking about yoga. So much of a yoga practice can be translated into the real world and real life and what you're practicing in real life. There's a nice little crossover there.
Tell me more.
There's tons of examples, but I think we talked about it a few weeks ago in my class of, you know, how you are presented in like a stressful situation. What, if there's a challenging or difficult situation, you know, can you remain calm? Can you remain cool? Can you remain collected? Do you start to spiral? Do you feed into the chaos? Kind of like staying with your breath and relaxing your muscles in a weird position where you're like pretzeling yourself. And I feel like that's a good life lesson, right?
Absolutely.
It's something that we can practice off the mat. And so there's a lot of parallels, I think.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong. I just find it so, like I've used it, I work a day job and I've just used it, you're 5 o'clock at Yoga Vibe where I go. And I just find it such a perfect exit from like a busy, stressful workday to personal time, just like a perfect, let me get rid of work and let me focus on me time now. And it's such like a good, I don't know what I'm trying to say, like a tunnel into that different world, unwinding almost.
Yeah. Good. I'm so glad you find that to be true.
Well, anyway, so I wanted to talk about yoga specifically. I found out about the actor thing, so I want to touch on that later. But I didn't know until just recently you studied in Bali.
Yes.
Why'd you go to Bali and just like go for it rather than stay here? You just wanted to go for it?
Yeah. Well, that kind of, I had quit my job at the time and I needed to just like get out and fully immerse myself in the yoga thing and focus. There's trainings that you can do while you still are working and have your day job or whatever that kind of work with your schedule. You do it on the weekends, you do it here and there, or like an online training. But I wanted to disconnect from everything in LA and be fully immersed in the training and learn all that information at once. It's intense, but I also feel like I learn best in those kind of settings.
Yeah, I love that. I think we all
distraction.
I think we all have dreams of that too. Like I was driving to work the other day and I was like, I want to just quit work and move to Costa Rica and live off the.
Yeah, it's definitely my vibe, I think.
Was it scary at all?
Tracks.
Were you single? And
For sure. No, I wasn't single.
Oh my
But it was not like I didn't move to Bali.
Oh, you didn't? I thought you were there for like months.
I was there for a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as
I thought it was
crazy
longer than
as,
that. I thought you went full off the grid like Bruce Wayne in the Dark Knight or whatever.
No. But I did I'd pieced out,
Got
you
it.
know. Yeah. I went for a month.
Did you find that it was, I hate to say this, but like more pure over there or anything? Like, was it less tainted? Because over here, like my prior experience with yoga, I don't know if I've told you this. I did yoga a lot before I moved to LA, but it was corporate yoga. It was like, it was core power yoga where every class was the exact same thing. You knew what you're getting. This is why I love this is every week you do something different. You do the same class for a week and then switch it. So I love that variation. And so it was like Bali more to its core what it was rather than, you know, who's that creepy guy that took over hot yoga? Bikram. Was it more honest and pure or?
I feel like you're in a bubble because you are in Bali. You're in this beautiful, magical place that definitely has a different feeling to it. And it's foreign, it's different, it's something out of your regular norm anyways. But I think it was like my teachers that made the experience special, not really Bali. You're going to have a special experience if you're in Bali no matter what. And I feel like, it was the teachers that made it special.
Well, how so? What do they do?
I just think, again, it's that like immersive experience of being somewhere and you're in school. You're in school for 3.5 weeks and you're doing lots and lots and lots and lots of yoga, 2 practices a day, plus in between. It's a lot on your body. It's a lot physically and mentally, and it's a lot of information. But the people that I went with took really good care of us, and I feel like we're really nurturing. And plus, I just like the way that they teach, what they have to say, which is why I teach the way that I teach, is because of them, I think.
They were very thorough and concise in the directions and everything?
Yeah. And I think nothing, not to shame like a place like Core Power or anything like that, but there are places where it's the same thing over and over again, which works for some people, right?
Yeah.
Some people want to know exactly what they're going to get. They want that consistency. They want the stability. They want the familiarity. And they want to be able to shut their brain off in a class. Yeah. You know, not everyone likes my classes. And I feel like those are the people that don't, right? They want to just kind of not really think about anything that I'm saying. They know what's happening. They know that from warrior 2, it's probably going to be a reverse warrior or something like that, right? Where they can just kind of whatever. But that's not how I want to practice. Yeah. And so I followed teachers whose practices I liked, and I liked what they have to say and what they teach, and yeah.
Was it a steep learning curve? Were you doing yoga before you were? I assume you were practicing it to some degree before you went.
A lot.
But now when I see like videos of you or you demo something on Instagram, you look like a goddamn like pulley system. Your body just like moves perfectly. You know what I mean? It looks like it's not even hard for you. So I imagine it was probably like a steep learning curve to get to that point.
For sure. Yeah. Bali was a crazy experience. That was the most I've ever moved my body in one time, for sure. Yeah. And I also got injured because of it. Yeah, because I'm moving my body before knowing the correct way to move my body. And so I got injured. And then I dealt with that for a while after Bali, which was a whole other thing. But yeah, it takes a lot of time. I was practicing yoga for years and years before I decided to become a teacher. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you always, so some of my favorite classes of yours are the ones where you sort of tell a story. And I think you touch on this at times, but like I'm just thinking like we start in whatever, a pigeon, and then you're like, now you're doing pigeon standing up. Or the perspective one, remember one of my favorites all time is like, we're going to focus on perspective in this class. And every move we were in a different perspective. And you're like, perspective, look at that. Like, do you find storytelling is good to weave throughout the class?
I do.
I love it because it has an A, B, C, D type of thing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that helps you understand things a little bit better. I think it's fun to make the connection in class. And I think it's make things interesting too. Makes things a little bit more interesting. So yeah, I do. It's not every time that I bring it in or I can bring it in, but I want there to be a through line or some kind of lesson or story to be told.
I love that. When you do a through line, I think it speaks to my creativity, right? You're like, we're going to do intention for summer or whatever. Then it feels like there's a story there, and I love it even more. I think it just adds that much to that experience.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do it more.
Well, I'm just curious if like that was something you figured out on your own, or was that something they taught you? Because like I've never had a teacher do that before.
I don't think they teach us that necessarily. I'm taught in like a peak pose kind of sequencing. That was the first training that I took, where every pose that you do up to that like most challenging peak pose thing that you do at the end of class, like the so everything up until then has to lead up to that.
That's natural story building.
Yeah,
right
so
there,
that's exactly right. Whether or
love
not
that.
I'm kind of telling you the whys during it, that's what you're doing. So you may not know that you're building up or leading up to it, but that's happening.
Yes.
So I think that they didn't necessarily teach us that, but I see it in other classes, and maybe it's the storyteller, the actor in me that like wants to bring a little bit of that into it, you know? Yeah.
Well, it's just a natural progression, and it's like I don't even notice it half the time, but you're just like, okay, you're doing this, remember this, and then later you're like, okay, now you're doing this unsupported and you're doing it on one leg. Isn't that cool? And you're like, wait, I am doing the exact same thing, but I'm not on my back this time. I find it fascinating.
Yeah. I love a progression. I love to build up to something. Take something that's easier when you're on your back or you're on the ground.
Yeah.
And then it becomes easier when it's in that more challenging position or
Yeah. I think that's so great when you do that. By the way, did they teach you? I love that you always say what the position is in the actual, whatever language. What language
Sanskrit.
is it? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Sanskrit?
Sanskrit.
Whenever you say stuff, I always thought it was Series A. It's not Series A. It's Sun Salutation A.
It's Sun Salutation A, but it's Surya A.
I always thought it was Series A for the longest time.
Series A. Well, I mean, call it what you want, but
Sanskrit. What is it?
Sanskrit.
Sanskrit. So that's also something you do really well. You're like butterfly, or you say the name in both languages every time, and I think that's great. Is that something they taught you as well, or did you just figure that out?
I think they taught us that, yeah, because you want to make it accessible to people. If I'm only saying the Sanskrit, you're not going to know what the fuck I'm saying.
Yeah.
But then, it kind of pays homage to the traditional sense, the traditional aspect of the practice, and what the poses are actually called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find the economics of yoga to be fulfilling? I'm just curious.
No.
I feel like also that's funny.
Like
short answer, no.
Like the amount that I get paid, or
it's just like it feels like a creativity. It feels like a creative artist endeavor.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So
I'm not teaching yoga to make money. Definitely not.
So I love that you left acting to do something like this that's also very similar in that.
Yeah. But for me, this was more fulfilling. This was fueling my soul a little bit more than acting was. Definitely still not making money. But it's the same thing. You're in it maybe at the beginning, right? Not to make money, but because you love what you're doing.
Right.
Because you love to practice it, and it's the same.
I find that humorous that you jump from one to the other. That's very similar.
Well, thankfully I have a partner that allows me to do this.
That's nice. Yeah. But you get paid per head, right? So if you do good and get good turnout,
it depends on the studio. But if you get more people in your class, you're going to get paid more for most studios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's good. That it has a built-in a reward system if you're doing a good job, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is interesting. You mentioned once that you have, because I said you do a different class every week, you have a book of ideas that you just sort of hobble together. Can you talk to me about the process for how you create a class or how you come to organize a class for that week?
Yeah. So I write down all my sequences. I like to write them down because then I can go in and make little notes or changes, or sometimes I'm drawing a little picture, or it's all abbreviated in a secret language that I know, secret little code. But
that's Series A. Series A is your language.
Series A. So I have a book of sequences that I've done in the past. Some weeks I'll go to an old sequence, something that I've created before, and I'll revamp it. I'll add new ideas, especially if I sequenced it years and years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like my practice changes so much, and I continue to take trainings and learn more. And so that colors how I teach. And so I'll go back to an old sequence and be like, oh, that's kind of weird. I don't know why I did that then, but let's do it this way now. Or here's some other cool stuff that I want to add. But if I start with the blank canvas, then it's just what I'm inspired by for that week. Maybe it's a story or a lesson or something that I want to teach and how I would translate that to the mat. Maybe it's a peak pose, a challenging pose that I want to work on. Lately, it's been like parts of the body, right? If my shoulders are really tight that week, then I'll do a shoulder specific class. Maybe it's seeing something that another teacher has done or my teachers have done and being inspired by that and what they're teaching and wanting to do it my own way. So it's just whatever I'm inspired by. And then I start there, and I do have like a template that I kind of follow, like a loose template based off a sequencing training that I took a few years ago that kind of acts as like a home base and like a little safety net, but that I allow myself to branch out of sometimes if I need to.
Yeah.
But it makes it a little bit easier to kind of follow and create a class.
And by sequence, you mean the entire class, not just like small bits, right?
Yeah, the whole thing.
That's crazy to me that you just have like a whole journal of that, because it feels so intimidating to me, just like knowing even where. Weirdly, you're a writer in another way. It's like you're writing out this script to the class.
For sure. Yeah.
And the idea that like, so you have your template you mentioned, which something I'm good at is pattern recognition. You do a little Pilates stuff at front, you do the series A in the middle, you end it with the peak pose. What do you start with then if you're starting from a blank slate? Do you start with the peak pose and work backwards? Do you start from the ending, or
no,
how do you...
If it's a peak pose, then I know what parts of the body I want to work, what muscles need to be open, what things need to be strengthened, what things need to be stretched. And then I will get on my mat and just start moving and just start deciding kind of what feels good, what feels right. Yes, it's writing like a script, but I also feel like it's like choreography too.
Yeah.
Like I'm creating a dance or a flow. So I have to like put it in my body. But then, I kind of know what needs to be done in order to get to a peak pose. And it's just how that happens, right? You can have a million different classes with the same peak pose, different types of classes,
Yeah.
So it's just how I want to get from point A to point B that day, that class.
Yeah. I find that so fascinating. Like, I wouldn't even know, honest to God, I didn't know what an oblique was until I started Pilates last month.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know, like, how you even, like, without, like, medical training, or, like, did you study exercise or anything? Like, how do you know parts of the body with only, like, a 200-hour training and then some extra sequence classes? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
it's a 200-hour training, and then I've taken training since then, for sure.
Right. Like, additional, but, like,
yeah,
it's
but
not...
you start to learn more about the body. I still don't know probably as much as I should know, but I know...
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah. But it's always room. Like, I always want to continue to learn. I always need to continue to learn.
But I guess I just don't even know where you'd begin. Like, it feels so scary to me. And it's impressive.
It's a lot of information. Yeah, it's going back to school again for a subject that you've never, studied before.
Yeah.
Really. But we all have bodies. We all have muscles. We all move every day.
Yeah.
But to become a little bit more aware of that and like knowing where your obliques are and like.
Oh, I know where they are now.
Okay,
They're
good.
broken now.
As they should be.
I hate Pilates, by the way. It is dead to me. Never again will I go to Pilates.
No, you're going to come with me. You do Pilates in my class pretty much every week.
I know, but it's like a short 10-minute window and you give me breaks. The worst part about Pilates is they're like, and you're there. And I'm like, where am I? I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah, there's no breaks.
And my attitude at Pilates just is so angry. I find you relaxing, but the instructors at Pilates, I just get so annoyed with them. Like, God damn it, don't talk to me like that.
I think that's normal.
So it's not healthy, though. I go to yoga to relax. I don't want to go and get like stressed out and angry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I leave feeling good.
Are you relaxed in my classes?
Yes.
Even like when it's slightly challenging?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
good. That's good. That's good to know.
No, that's what I was saying.
Good.
You have a very calming presence about you.
Okay.
And I think that's what makes it so good. It's like it's you just like bring everybody. It's very maternal in a weird way. Oh, not weird, but I guess it's just like very comforting. Which is ironic though, because I'm going to talk about my neighbor Alyssa. She goes to class and she prefers male instructors, and I prefer female instructors. I wonder if there's something to do that.
I'm not sure. just some issues that you have, maybe.
Yeah, probably. She likes like the angry stuff, and I'm like, no, give me the soft stuff.
Yeah. I feel like it's a personal preference,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah.
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 But back to sequencing, and you're mad scientist. How much do you think is it writing? How much is drawing? How much is you just sitting on a mat, like playing around, kicking around?
I think it's all kind of equal. Yeah. But it's a lot. It takes a lot of time. Not every teacher's sequence is like that.
Right.
Not every teacher's going to take that much time to do a sequence for sure. They might be more intuitive or, invite a little bit more of like improv into it, which I still do depending on where I'm teaching or who's in the class or whatever factor might come up. But a lot of teachers will just kind of like make it up on the spot, make it up as they go, or get a suggestion from someone in class and just kind of
That's crazy.
flow, which is great. It is crazy. And it's great sometimes. It works. But is it going to be as like detail oriented and specific? And
No.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But still going to be a good class. It's just different. So yeah, I definitely take a lot of time to do it.
I like to ask creative people about like time management and rituals. So do you like do this the same time? Like Sunday nights, you do this for 2 hours in your room and you sip some tea or anything like that? Is it that formal, or is it chasing the baby, mixing it in type of stuff?
It's like doing it when the baby's sleeping or at night. Yeah.
Sure.
Baby cannot be in the picture, but it is every Tuesday. I sequence my classes on Tuesday.
Okay.
And yeah, I have to have the phone off, no TV. I might make the vibe a little bit better, get my creative juices flowing, whatever it takes. But it is for sure set every Tuesday for sure, because my new sequence will start on a Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm pretty consistent about that. But shit happens, life happens, right? So if I don't have time on a Tuesday to create something from scratch, that's when I'll go back to an old class and figure out a different way that it can be done. Or even it's just like little tweaks here and there. The class could be, 75% the same as it was the first time, but just with like a little something different to it.
Yeah.
Or something that I haven't taught in a really, really long time. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I create something brand new every single week.
But I'm shocked that you could even are you good at a drawer? Like, how can you even like interpret your
well, when I say drawing, it's not like, it does not look good.
I know. That's why I think it'd be hard to like, if you opened a page like 3 years ago, could you easily figure out what you were writing?
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah, for sure. It's all the same. It kind of doesn't waver from.
Do you have like code? Do you have like a code for like?
Yeah, there's like codes, because sometimes some poses or things that I'm trying to explain are really long.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of shorthand and a lot of code. Like, when I say vinyasa, like take your vinyasa after Surya A. Vinyasa in my book is like 2 little waves.
Wow.
So I just do like a little wave, like almost like an equal sign, but if they were wavy.
It's like that movie Arrival where you were trying to figure out.
If someone found the book, they'd be like, what the fuck
find this in 200 years and be like, what is this?
Try to like decode, decipher it.
2 little waves. I love that.
Yeah, 2 little waves. So it's stuff like that. Or like triangle pose is just a triangle.
That makes
or, little shorthands so that I'm not writing so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just can't get over like that you can put it all together and it works. Like I wouldn't even know. It's just it's mind-boggling to me. I'm at a loss for how you do that. It's crazy.
It's hard. And then also going back to like the, equating it to being an actor, I'm memorizing too. I have to memorize these
I was going to bring that up.
And so I have to be just as focused as I'm asking everyone else to be, because I am having to remember everything. And like looking at my notes, definitely for like that first class, maybe a few classes. And then it gets in my head and I remember it and I can memorize it. But yeah, it's
crazy how much you can memorize. I think you've messed up once in all the classes I've taken with you. And you were very upset.
And you called me out on it too.
Did I?
Yep.
Did I really?
Yes, you did. But you said it in a very nice way. You were like, I can't believe you messed up. You never mess up. Or you called it out or something.
Oh, that's fun. I just remember once you were hammering us and I said, no child's pose. You said, not this time.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not why I come to you.
Give me that
No,
shot.
but I remember you messed up. I thought somebody else called you out. Or like you pointed it out and we all were like, yeah, you were wrong. And then you're like, damn it.
Yeah, no one told me. Everyone just kept
We
going.
trust you.
Yeah,
I
know.
You could walk us off a cliff and we wouldn't question it.
That's okay.
But you were
thank
very
you.
upset that you messed up, and I find that
Yeah.
delightful. But also, it's
Yeah.
great. Your batting average is insane because you never mess up.
Thanks. Well, it takes a lot of focus. Even if I find myself for a second thinking about something else, or I'm taken out of what I'm doing by a distraction or something, then I am panicking. I'm like, did we do the left side? Like, what just happened? Did I skip something? Or that's when I start to think about the lefts. The lefts and the rights are always so confusing. So
Yes.
I cannot
Especially
for
when
a
you do them
second
backwards
think
in the
about-
front as the demo. I don't know why you do that.
Well, that now is easy, but now I think it's fucked me up in real life because now I'm like, oh, this is my right side and this is my left side, and it's not. But that is like now where my brain is when I'm demoing because
Yeah.
I'm flipped around.
I just went to New Zealand with a friend, and we were driving on the left, and he was making fun of me because the first thing you do is you hit the windshield wiper when you mean to do a blinker.
Uh-huh.
And he started driving, and he realized he learned his left and right because the steering wheel's on the left. That's how he learned it. So he was really messed up.
I was so messed up. That's great.
Oh, it's funny. I love that.
It's hard to remember the lefts and the rights. It's
Well, yeah,
hard. It's like half of yoga.
Well, and yoga is all about balancing the sides and doing everything appropriately. Wait, you mentioned distractions. How often, and I'm shocked it doesn't, well, maybe, I don't know. How often do you get like a weirdo and like a heckler in class? And I feel like it happened a couple months ago.
It happens sometimes. I wouldn't say like a heckler.
It is essentially what it is.
Kind of, yeah.
I mean, if they're
Yeah.
interrupting the flow of your comedy set or
Yeah,
your yoga
they're-
class, it's
if they're
it's
interrupting,
heckling.
yeah. Or, they could just be someone that's overly loud, even just with like, or talkers, people that are like talking to their friends next to them or something mid-class. It doesn't happen very often, but it happens for sure.
Were you taught how to handle that?
Well, I think you just handle it with as much grace and compassion as you can. Almost like giving them extra attention in a way, just to make sure that they are not disrupting any further than they maybe already are. But I think it's also, I don't think you're really taught it. I think it's just a lot of years of, yeah, it just sucks. But it's, I think it also goes back to just being like, if someone's obviously not having a good time, or I love the people that come to class, but then they just do whatever they want, which is always fine, right? You always say, or we're taught to say, everything that I say is just a suggestion, which is totally true, right? If you don't want to do something that I'm telling you to do, please don't do it. But throughout like an entire class, if somebody comes in and just is like doing whatever they want to do on the mat, I find that to be really distracting and disrespectful. But at that point, you just kind of have to block them out. Yeah. And not really care. No, don't go into like a spiral of like, they're not doing it because they don't like what I'm doing. They don't like the class. They don't like me, and spiraling and just being like, they're here to just do whatever they want. And then you hope that other students aren't watching them and getting confused. And sometimes I'll straight up just call it out and just be like, not everyone in the class is doing what I'm saying. So just make sure that you're listening to me and not watching everyone. I've definitely had those moments before.
I love that.
Definitely. When it gets like too bad, then yeah, I'll say things.
Have you
like
kicked
that.
people out of class ever?
I've never kicked someone out of class.
Interesting.
I've never
I will be
kicked.
the first.
I would never.
I used to work at a comedy club, and one of my least favorite things was when people I hate confrontation. I hate it. And when they're distracting and I'm supposed to like tell them to be quiet, I'm like, I don't want to.
Confrontation is hard.
Yeah. Especially if you're like trying to do your thing and you got other people paying attention to you and you're expected to alleviate that. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Staying calm in the chaos. That's like definitely, I think, one of the teachers or one of the jobs of a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much yoga do you actually do right now? How much do you actually like practice?
Now with a kid, not a lot, not as much as I used to. But I'm doing my classes at some of the studios. I'm practicing along. I am demoing. mostly because they have live streams still and the camera's only on the mat and whatever factors. But so I get to practice then. Maybe a few times a week. I try.
But do you go to other people's classes?
I'll go to other people's classes or I'll do an online practice.
Got it.
My teachers have an online platform, so I like to practice with them, and that's the easiest.
The ones in Bali?
They're not in Bali. They're in LA.
Oh.
One's in LA, one's in Canada. We just all went to Bali. But
Wait, so explain that?
one of my teachers is in LA.
One of the ones you studied under in Bali?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But they went to Bali to lead the training.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. I thought they lived there. I was picturing you in like a temple and everything.
No, that would have been great.
I pictured you there for like 6 months in a temple eating only oatmeal or something.
I wish. It was definitely not that intense. Minus the oatmeal.
Oatmeal's great.
Oatmeal in Bali?
A little chia seeds.
Who are you?
Well, I don't know what they eat.
There's like fruit and fish and like.
Well, you can put fruit in oatmeal.
Yeah. But I just don't know why you would equate Bali and oatmeal.
Okay, bulgur, whatever the grain is that they eat over there.
Yeah, no, it wasn't that intense.
Got it. What were we talking about? You in LA?
Oh yeah, so an online practice. Yeah, that's the easiest for me.
Got it.
Because I can but it just doesn't even hold a candle to an in-person class.
Yeah, nothing does.
Yeah.
I find, which beautiful. Back to acting. I do self-tapes right here. I hate it.
Yeah.
I had a callback today in person. It's much better when you're in person. Ironically, the director was on Zoom in the callback, which was annoying. What was the point of that? But
yeah.
I hate self-tapes, and I do therapy in person. I do yoga in person. Like, it's way better in person.
Yeah, it's way better in person.
I was just listening to a podcast. Do you know the Dr. Lori Santos? She did that. She did that class at Yale, the happiness class, and like half the undergrads ended up enrolling for it.
No, I don't think so.
She just like studies she's a psychologist, studies happiness and stuff. And she was talking about how, I think she called it third places. We've sort of lost track of third places, i.e. not home, not work, where we'd used to, the mall, where we'd used to go gather and just be around friends. I find like being in yoga is like a third place, like a place where we can be together and get a sense of community, and doing that online. Ugh.
Yeah, you can't get that. You can't get the energy in the room. But for sure, I think it goes back to community, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
You need a place like that with community that is outside of your work friends, your home life, Yeah, I think that's really important.
This thought just occurred to me. How do you describe yoga to somebody that's never done yoga?
That's never done yoga?
I'm going to end the question there before I influence your answer.
I just think it would be just movement or something really simple. Like we're just making weird shapes with our bodies because we are. It's just making shapes with our bodies. Do you think of it as a
workout though?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It depends on the class. It can be a workout, but more of, I don't even know if I like the word workout so much as like strength building and stretching, which I guess is a type of workout. But I think people associate a workout with like, a higher heart rate and cardio and like a big sweat. And it's not always that. Not always.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I think of it as like a workout meditation.
It's a mind workout, too.
Mind workout,
For sure,
It
yeah.
really is.
It's a mind and body workout. I think it's a good way to describe it to someone because it is so much of a mental practice as it is a physical practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first thing I wrote down, by the way, was what is the point of Shavasana?
The point.
What are we supposed to be doing when we're playing dead?
That is the most important pose. That is the
Tell me more. Educate me.
You want to give your body time to process everything that just happened, to rest and to like receive all of the movement and the breath and everything that you've just done for that last hour. It's the same as like not being able to process. If you're just like rushing from one thing to another, you're not going to be able to process and really take in what just happened before if you're rushing from one thing to another. And Shavasana is rest. It allows your body to take in everything that just happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So.
And to calm the nervous system down, to like bring ourselves back down to a state of rest and relaxation. But really, I feel like it is to process everything.
I like that. I don't think I've ever approached it that way. I approached it always as like a calming, meditative, I guess in a weird way, yeah.
But that is,
but essentially, yeah.
That's kind of this, is it not same?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for sure it's a calming, meditative time, practice, a few minutes of it. But yeah, it's to just kind of let everything settle.
I find though that that's where work sneaks back into my...
For sure.
Fucking work.
Yeah. Well, that's meditation is hard. Yeah. It's so hard to shut your brain off when you're just still and not sleeping. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
100%.
The brain is active.
And all the water bottles are falling over.
Yeah.
But you really think of that as the most important part of class?
For sure.
Were you just taught to say that?
I mean, no. But I do think it.
None of the work is as important as like reflecting on the work?
I mean, I think we were taught a little bit, but I do think that you should, especially in LA, and I feel like maybe I am guilty of it too. And so to force ourselves to just be still and chill the fuck out for just a few minutes and to like shut our brains off, which is so hard to do, for just a few minutes is really important. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't disagree, because I find, especially lately, like even if I just walk to the bathroom, I have my phone in my hand. I'm like, why? Why? Where am I going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So and we're always like people that skip Shavasana, and
people
I'm not...
skip it?
Oh yeah. People will just leave. If they have to leave early, or a lot of times. But I feel like studios now are kind of saying like, please stay to the end of class. Like if you can, That's like crazy. Try not to skip. Or the teacher will say, don't skip Shavasana. It's the best pose. It's the most important pose. But even just like rushing out of class, immediately after, and like being in such a hurry to get from point A to point B. And again, I am so guilty of it. And it's a constant practice in my life too, to just be able to slow down and appreciate things a little bit more and take things in and ask yourself why you're in such a rush, especially with that LA mentality. I feel like everyone is just like always doing the next thing and thinking about the next thing before even processing what just happened. So Shavasana forces you to just stay still. And,
I love that.
And just, rest.
What you just described reminds me of back when I was a churchgoer. Everyone dipping out after communion. They're like, okay, we got it. And then everyone bails for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you made it this far. What do you do?
Right? Yeah. That's also how I think about in class. Like, you made it this far. It's like 3 minutes.
Relax for a second.
Just relax.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's
that mentality of like, well, I got what I needed. I got the workout. I got the stretch.
Right. Well,
I got whatever.
That's where my head was.
And so like, I got to go. Like, why am I laying here? It's a waste of time. But it's not.
Can I contend with this in the sense that then you're not being mindful? You're reflecting on what has been rather than what's the present?
Well, you're letting your body process it.
I see.
You're just letting it settle, but not necessarily like reflecting on what just happened or the class necessarily in that moment.
I see. There's
time for reflection after class, and you're going to do it whether or not I tell you to do it anyways. I'll do it too. And, thinking about the class and, assessing how good I did or how bad I did or whatever. But we try to just kind of release the thoughts and just know that our body is going to process it just from the rest and just from shutting off for a few minutes.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad I asked that, because I'm going to try to approach it now from that lens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's an opportunity to practice meditation, to practice just noticing your breath and listening to your breath. And as thoughts come in, to recognize them, to notice them, but just kind of like release them and let them go, which is so fucking hard.
Oh yeah. What do you say? What do you always say right at the end? The last few minutes are your own?
Yeah. The last few minutes are your own.
Shavasana.
And I'll let you know when it's time to come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shavasana.
See,
you say that every time. See, I like the redundancy of your practice.
Yeah, I do repeat a lot of things.
Yeah, I have Stephisms up there.
I have a lot of stuff.
Are we breathing?
Yeah.
You say that a lot?
Uh-huh.
So good, everyone.
So good.
You say that?
So good,
and
yeah.
I wrote, nice adjustments, everyone. Those are the 3 I wrote down. There's probably more.
Oh my God, I love it.
Are we breathing?
Yeah.
That's the new one.
I feel like a lot of my regular students will call me out on things that I say a lot. Yeah.
No, I think it's great. I just think it's funny that.
Yeah.
So good, everyone.
So good. But I really am, I don't know how to express how happy and proud I am sometimes of just seeing everyone. Especially people that have been coming to my class for a really long time. I get to see their journey progress and their practice progress and, get better. And it is also really nice to see, these little tweaks, these little adjustments that I give you, and then people figuring it out in their own bodies without having to look up at me, you know, and just to see that and to make those little adjustments. And yeah, it just makes me really happy.
I love that. Do you view yourself as how do you view yourself in regards to that? Like a coach, like a mentor? What do you have or just a yoga teacher?
Definitely want to get away. I don't like any of the guru or mentor. I mean,
yeah, but you're clearly influencing.
But I'm teaching. I'm teaching you things.
Yeah.
So I would call myself a teacher, but I'm not striving to be anything more than that.
Yeah.
I'm just there to give you some information and to offer up some new things and to try to make you try new things and not take yourself too seriously and practice some life lessons on a rubber mat.
Sure.
Yeah,
But you clearly are an influencer in some way.
I hope to be a good influencer. Yeah. I hope to influence your practice or your day or that hour for the good every single time for sure. Yeah.
I was not shocked, but I was surprised. We did that yoga hike recently. And a couple of people I was talking to, they're like, I've been going to Stephanie for years. I'm like, wow, that's very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like these are people that are turned friends too,
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have any pet peeves with people in class?
Lateness.
Well, yeah.
Hate lateness. Talking in class.
Yeah.
I feel like, I feel like those are the two.
Okay, let's get deeper
biggest
than that.
one.
Do you have anything as a purist that you're like, gosh, why aren't they sitting deeper in that chair? Or somebody's
No.
got their hands not touching when they should be, any really nitty gritty stuff that only inside yoga you would know? Like big toes not touching in child's pose or something like that?
No, because there are modifications to every single pose.
Ugh.
To say no, and I know, but it's true. There should never really be a right way to do a yoga pose.
Right.
100%, if you are not doing it this way, it is not the pose, or you're not doing it correctly. I really want to get away from that language because it's just a pose. There are modifications that can be done, and it's I don't want it to be so rigid and so specific in that way.
Yeah.
And so if I see someone not exactly doing what I'm saying, then that's fine. It's not like a pet peeve,
okay. But I appreciate that politically correct answer. But there's got to be nothing really just annoys you.
Nothing like that. Nothing to do, because then that would be me. Then that would mean that I would be picking apart someone's body or inability to do something. And I'm not here to do that.
Okay.
Oh, your big toes aren't touching.
Well,
or maybe it will go back to listening. I feel like you're in my class a lot. If someone's not listening.
Sure.
If I'm your left hand behind your head, your left hand's behind. I don't know how else to say it. Put your left hand behind your head. You're just not listening to me at that point.
Yeah.
That is a definite big pet peeve when I can tell if someone is not listening.
I like that, but also I feel bad for those people because I feel like they're probably in their own they're dealing with some shit and they're not
for sure.
I'm just thinking of stupid stuff that I hate, and I don't love hate stuff, but hating stuff. But did you ever audition at 200 South La Brea? Do you know 200 South La Brea?
It's
a big commercial venue,
probably.
And you walk in. This is just a pet peeve of mine. You walk in and there's a giant wall with numbers. It's like a chalkboard. Numbers and what there is in each room. Right.
Uh-huh.
Room 1 is IKEA. Room 2 is Chevrolet. I get so annoyed at actors that walk in, look around, don't see that giant board, and then start walking to each individual room. I'm like, there's a giant board. How can you not see it?
They're not paying attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just like things like that, I was curious if you had anything that grinded your gears.
I don't think so. Not really.
That's probably why you're a good teacher and I'm not a teacher, because that could be bad.
That could be bad.
Yeah. So talk to me about acting. You were an actor. What made you ultimately stop acting? Musical acting, I was told.
I did musical theater for like college, high school.
That's what you thought you were going to be.
I did a lot of acting when I was younger. Like came to LA, did commercials and shows and a whole bunch of shit when I was younger.
What shows did you do?
I did like an ABC miniseries.
What?
I did, yeah. It was like a bunch of stuff.
I looked up your IMDb. I didn't see anything. I couldn't find you on there.
Probably because I didn't put it. I was in this thing with Richard Dean Anderson, this legend.
Oh my God, MacGyver.
I was in something with Sybil Shepherd. It was like another show, like a mini series.
As like a teenager?
No, I was like 4 or
Kid.
5.
Wow.
Little.
Okay.
So that like when I was that young, commercials. I did a Spanish movie. I came really close to booking really big things like Mrs. Doubtfire, Little Rascals,
What?
The Nanny. Really close.
Was this so? Okay, so you were schlepping from Arizona over here for auditions, or
Yep.
were you?
Yep,
Wow.
I'd fly.
And that's what?
Yeah, I had a manager and an agent out here and in Phoenix, but I was in Tucson.
I had no
and so my
idea.
parents would fly me out. Yeah.
What was that
but
grind
I was,
like?
What
How
was
often
it?
were you flying out? And why didn't you just move here?
I don't think my parents wanted to necessarily like put me in that whole
Got it.
thing. Education was always really important in my family. Like, you know, you're not going to become a child actor. Like, we got to go to school.
But they were doing
But
that.
yeah, I was doing it. I'm sure if I would have booked these big things, they would have 100%. But I feel like they would have always said, like, you have to prioritize your education at some point, or, you know. I don't remember a ton. I just remember being really fun. And at that point, you don't have any baggage or shit that you're dealing with,
Or
and you're
rent
just a
to pay,
kid.
yeah.
And I would just like go into these rooms without a care in the world and just book things. But then, especially for those bigger things, I was too ethnic. I was like too ethnic looking at the time. They just wanted like blonde white girls with blue eyes for a lot of the things. Yeah.
So was this something you wanted to do?
Yeah, for sure.
You were like, Mom and Dad, I have to be an actor. I have to.
Since I was little. Yeah. Loved it.
I love that. I don't get how you've in Tucson get a manager and start getting these big auditions.
I mean, I feel like you can get an agent anywhere. Well, not anywhere, but it definitely, they were based out of Phoenix, but I would do like lots of local stuff too in Tucson and Phoenix.
Okay.
And then, I came out to LA a lot when I was little. And then once I started getting a little older, I started focusing more on like music theater. I wanted to do that. I wanted to sing and dance and act. I wanted to do it all. And then I just did music theater because that's what I loved to do up until college. And then I booked a show out of college. But then I wanted to come back to LA and not do music theater.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back into acting and TV
You went to
and film.
Arizona State?
I went to Arizona State.
What show did you book out of college?
Shout. It was up in the Bay Area.
Oh,
it's like
cool.
an off-Broadway musical. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then you came to LA.
And then I came to LA and I was like, I want to get back into the whole thing. And did it for a little bit and definitely took a lot of classes. Like I did Leslie Kahn and UCB.
Oh, I just interviewed Leslie.
And I saw. She was great. And UCB. But I'm sure, as you know, in LA, you got to have a day job if you're not booking things right off the bat. And I worked high-end retail.
Oh, shit.
And that was a lot.
Like Gucci?
Like
Coach?
I was on Rodeo.
Oh, shit.
I was at Miu Miu. I was at Charlotte Olympia. Yeah. And that was a lot. And
What was a lot? Working the day job and going to try an audition?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got really sucked into my day job. I was really good at what I did. But it was hard to find that balance. And then I feel like retail just kind of sucked the soul out of everything and made me kind of fall out of love with acting. I think just because of where I was mentally, and it just felt like a lot of me, and like, look at me and come see how good I am, and feeling like there was lots of limiting beliefs that I was having, and just wasn't really believing in myself, didn't have a ton of drive. And it just didn't feel like it was what I was doing was of any like importance, or didn't feel good. And so I was like, I need to quit my job, and I'm going to just pivot. And I don't really want to act anymore. I want to do something, not to say that acting isn't helping people or, anything like that. But I was just like, I want to help people. I want to do something that's going to better someone's day and get into my body a little bit more. And I just felt like this was the only way out, to just like quit and just focus on this.
Yeah.
And then I've just never looked back.
So sorry to dwell on the bad part of that story that you just ended on, never looking back. Were those limiting beliefs? Was that just sort of a slow burn, or was it sort of a light switch where you're like, this isn't happening. I'm not confident in my.
I think it was a slow burn. Yeah. And I think, again, it was just like where I was mentally. And I really do equate a lot of the day job for that, where I was in that headspace and mentally, of just like feeling really run down. And yeah. And then it just was like it was a very slow burn where I didn't have the drive. I felt like everyone around me was so much more talented, and I'm seeing them not book jobs, where now I think I could totally reframe that mindset and be like, these people aren't necessarily more talented than me. Like, what do I have to offer that's different and unique and special? I just wasn't even in any of that headspace to think about anything. And so they started becoming these really crazy limiting beliefs. And I was just like, I just don't want to do it anymore.
How long did you give it a go? Like when you moved to LA to when you stepped away?
5 years.
Yeah.
I've been in LA for like 14 years. Yeah. Again, I probably could have given it longer. Like, I feel like I look back and see things that I could have done differently, or the ways I could have approached it. But yeah, but I think most importantly, I just lost the drive. I lost the motivation.
Yeah.
Like, you need that motivation, and for sure you need it. And I just lost it. I was like,
Did you book anything in that 5 years?
Nothing substantial. Nothing substantial. Yeah.
That's tough too.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're just like not booking, and then I felt like I didn't have time. I wanted to like take more classes and do more things and and I just felt like I didn't even have time because I was stuck in this day job.
Yeah, that's the tough part about it.
Yeah. And so you just get frustrated. And yeah.
It is so hard, and you have to really like it to even want to try. Like, I feel like I'm stretched so thin right now with a day job acting. Like, it's, and then you got your reps there saying you got to do more, and you're like, I'm already self-producing a podcast, making social media clips, doing all this stuff on top of auditions. And it's just like, that's why I like time management, because if you don't sort of manage your time, in my opinion, or like try to organize it, conflicting priorities kind of set you down a sketchy path where you're not focused at all and you're not organized.
Yeah, that became the priority. The day job became the priority. Yeah.
Were you working on commission?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So like, you got to work for it. And again, I was good at, I like want to succeed in anything that I do, slightly a perfectionist. And so I feel like I did devote a lot of time and energy to that job, even though I didn't feel it wasn't fulfilling my soul in any way.
Yeah. So when you left, you said you didn't look back. So like, you're content with that decision, even though you grew up like I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be a musical.
Yeah, I am content with that decision because I still feel like I am able to be creative. I get to use so much of what I learned as an actor, as a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
I'm performing multiple times.
Creative. I think it's
multiple times a week, right? Yeah. I'm in front of an audience. I have to be on. I have to be interesting. I have to provide interesting information. I'm choreographing. I'm telling a story. I'm improvising when, different factors come into play and I have to like switch on a dime. So I feel like there's so much of what I learned and what I did all my life that kind of set me up for this.
Yeah.
As long as I can still be creative in that sense, like have some of that creativity and be a creative person, then I'm fine with that.
I agree.
That makes me happy.
Did you read the Rick Rubin book? Rick Rubin wrote a book that was very popular a year or two ago about like creativity and how we all have a form of creativity in us, whether that's building an engine or teaching a yoga class or writing a world-renowned movie. Like it's all creativity, and there's all this. It's a little frou-frou, but it's all this creative energy floating around, and it's going to land on us, and or you or me or so and so, and it's up to us to take that and harness it. And if we don't, it's going to move on to the next type of person. And so I absolutely think that's creative. And I think a lot of people like me like the outlet, like yoga that's creative. Or like, I was talking to George Basil a couple months ago, and he was like, I like tinkering on a car, building things. It's like, oh, it's all creative. It's not quote unquote glamorous creativity, but it's creativity nonetheless.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like that I'm content with that. For
love
sure.
that.
I think I was, sad about it. I was sad to leave that behind, especially after doing it my whole life. But yeah, I'm definitely content with it now.
Are you satiated? Like if somebody offered you an audition right now for a yoga teacher, would you go, oh, sure, I'll audition?
I don't know.
If somebody offered you a part, would you take it?
Without auditioning?
Yeah. Okay.
For sure. But I think just to do it, because again, it's something that I still like to do.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't then switch gears and or try to do that. Yeah. Or a lot of times, like my parents will even say, like, you can do both. You can still do both. But I just didn't. I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to shut that door, and I love what I do now.
Yeah.
And I want to devote all my time and energy to that.
I love that. If the light dimmed out, no reason to relight it.
Yeah, relight it.
When are you going to do a musical yoga class? When are you going to sing instructions to us?
Oh my
Shavasana.
That'd be great. Actually, I made my class sing along today.
What?
Yeah, a little bit. There was a good song playing, and I was like, I know you guys want to sing along, and people started singing.
Wow. That's a good
Maybe
group.
It's a thing.
It was all the actors in there.
Yeah, right? It was all the people being like, who's in class?
How do you feel? We're at an hour.
I feel good.
Do you see we filled this up?
I know we did.
What is there anything I missed?
You tell me.
Oh, do you know what my least favorite part of class is?
Please tell me.
Do you have a guess? You're not going to get it.
I don't know.
It's the supine twist at the end. I hate the supine. Any form of twisting
Any
at the
twisting
end.
at the end? Why? Tell me more about this.
I mean, TMI, but guys have things down here, and when you get in there, it gets a little dicey, and then just like it's just not comfortable. Like I'm like, if somebody would do this to me, it would feel a lot better. But like forcing my body to like pretzel is not great.
Not right.
I don't like it. I mean,
you do twist pretty much
every time.
Yeah.
I'm like, why? It hurts. Ow. And you're always like, keep your shoulder down. My shoulder's like up 4 feet off the ground. And I'm like, what am I doing?
Okay, this is good to know.
I think I touched everything else on my list. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is a pleasure. We filled
I loved it.
an hour easily.
I felt so comfortable, and it was nice to have a conversation.
Well, thank you for saying that, because you do that to me all the time in class. So I'm glad I could be a good guru.
Yeah, you're my podcast guru.
Thank you, Steph. You get a tail slate now.
Just whatever I want.
Sure.
Thanks for listening.
That's great.
Thank you.
MTV and the Channel E. A thing for celebrity.
That's not novel at all.